Hello, everyone. It is March 11th, 2021. Today's afternoon devotional and Bible study, we will be reading through the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 9, and Jesus is calling for today. It is a nice, hot, warm day outside compared to everything else that we've had, but it's also a windy day. So I am still inside, but I went out and about for a little bit today. It was very nice. Hopefully you get a chance to get some exercise. I know it's kind of cloudy, but you still feel some of that sun. It is nice. So a little bit of a warning. Someone is going to be coming by to pick up our car. They were supposed to come by yesterday and they didn't. So I might stop this partway through and then come back and finish it later, but I think we'll be okay. So the devotional today is from Jesus is Calling for March 11th, 2021. A walk by faith, not by sight. Walk by faith, not by sight. As you take steps of faith, depending on me, I will show you how much I can do for you. If you live your life too safely, you will never know the thrill of seeing me work through you. When I give you my spirit, I empowered you to live beyond your natural ability and strength. That's why it's so wrong to measure your energy level against the challenges ahead of you. The issue is not your strength, but mine, which is limitless by walking close to me. You can accomplish my purposes in my strength. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Since we live by the Spirit, let us keep in step with the Spirit. Sorry, my cat has poked its head in to be a part of things. The last Bible verse that inspired that devotional was, "But I will sing of your strength in the morning, and I will sing of your love. For you are my fortress, my refuge in times of trouble. O my strength, I sing praise to you. O God, you are my fortress, my loving God." Psalm 159, 16 and 17. Walk by faith, not by sight. Which I think is a pretty solid reminder of even what we're talking about in no, Joxer. No, bud. In the book of 2 Samuel. Where David was like, there's, so much stuff going on, and he got so disheartened, but God was at work. And if he just looked at the circumstances directly around him, then, he would have, and let those consume him, he would have been doing a lot of things that he would have been regretting. And that wouldn't have got him into the position that he's in. Joxer, you still want to be here, eh? Someone's measuring something on my lawn, which was a bit distractive. All right. Think I can sit here and still read with you? He loves being held like this. Almost as much as he loves string. But, so what we read yesterday was a bit of a challenging chapter. So after all the positive things that were going on with David, he ended up then just having victory after victory after victory after victory over his enemies. And it was a good yet challenging thing to read. There was a lot of really positive stuff. And David's popularity was continuing and continuing and continuing to grow. And that's kind of where we left off yesterday. All right. So once my cat's butt is out of my face, Joxer, make a decision, bud. Okay, I'm moving you away. I'm going to take a sip, and then we'll get started reading the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 9. All right. One day, David asked, "Is anyone in Saul's family still alive? Anyone to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" He summoned a man named Ziba, who had been one of Saul's servants. "Are you Ziba?" the king asked. "Yes, sir, I am," Ziba replied. Then the king asked him, "Is anyone still alive from Saul's family? If so, I want to show God's kindness to them." Ziba replied, "Yes, one of Jonathan's sons is still alive. He is crippled in both feet." No, Joxer wants to eat my bookmark. He's crippled in both feet. "Where is he?" the king asked. "In Lor Debar," Ziba told him, "at the home of Machir, son of Amiel." So David sent for him and brought him from Machir's home. His name was Mephibosheth. He was Jonathan's son and Saul's grandson. When he came to David, he bowed low to the ground in deep respect. David said, "Greeting, Mephibosheth." Mephibosheth replied, "I am your servant." "Don't be afraid," David said. I intend to show kindness to you because of my promise to your father Jonathan. I will give you all the property that once belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will eat here with me at the king's table. Mephibosheth bowed respectfully and exclaimed, "Who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dead dog like me?" Then the king summoned Saul's servant Ziba and said, "I have given you your master's grandson, everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and your servants are to farm the land for him to produce for your master's household." But I'm going to call him Met from now on. Mefbo. I'm going to call him Mefbo from now on, just so you guys know. Mefbo, your master's grandson, will eat here at my table. Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Ziba replied, "Yes, my lord the king, I am your servant. I will do all that you have commanded." And from that time on, Mephibosheth, however you pronounce his name, ate regularly at David's table, like one of the king's own sons. Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah. From then on, all the members of Ziba's household were Mephibosheth's servants. And Mephibosheth, who was crippled in both feet, lived in Jerusalem and ate regularly at the king's table. So there's a chunk in here. 2 Samuel 9:11. Ziba replied, "Yes, my lord, the king, I am your servant, and I will do all that you have commanded." And from that time on, Mephibosheth ate regularly at David's table, like one of the king's own sons. Here, David adopts Jonathan's crippled son, Mephibosheth, as his own son, to live with him in the king's household. We are adopted sons and daughters of God through Jesus. Invited to live with him in his kingdom. Galatians 3:26. I want to add to that little foreshadowing. For a time, even though Jonathan didn't, but Saul did. And he's referred a lot as Saul's grandson here. So he was a member of the family of the enemy, even though Jonathan and him were still best friends. Often we can feel like we belong to the enemy, and that we are standing against God, and how can God forgive us? And we're seeing that once again David pouring love on potentially his enemy, but then also the flip side of that is his best friend, Jonathan, who also died. He's adopted and he's looking after him. And it's that sense of like, the godfather, godparents type deal. And the last really big thing that jumped out to me here is this is a physical illness. He's crippled. In a lot of history, people that were crippled didn't have the kind of options and rights that they have now. And how awesome is it that the second king of Israel adopts and looks after someone that is crippled. And I think it's fair to assume that because he was part of Saul's family, he was still looked after. God cares literally about the least of these. In this time, crippled people would have been the least of these. David cared, echoing and showing God's heart for the least of these. No one is too sick, too hurt, too damaged for God. You are not too damaged for God. When I see people looking after those that can't look after themselves, whether it's elderly, whether it's young, whether it's disability, what have you, sometimes I got to fight back tears because of how much they love and how much they sacrifice and how much they care without recognition. It is motivating, inspiring, humbling, and I have so much respect for those that work in long-term care homes, that work with high needs and special needs people, in the school system especially, and like in group homes, and like there is a whole network of people to support those that are crippled, that have been injured, that were born crippled, or with a disability or whatever, and it's echoing God's heart. Like David looking after the guy with the name that I can't pronounce, and his heart for him. God cares, and it's seeing these people and these organizations come together to care and love, especially for those that can't do it themselves. It's inspiring. It's awesome. And it's echoing God's heart. So once again, you are not too broken. For God's love. I just read through the book of 2 Samuel chapter 9, bringing it all to a close, Johnny. But yeah, if you want to have that conversation, I think tomorrow would be a great time for it. So yeah, we could talk afterwards about that. But I'm going to wrap things up with a little bit of prayer and let you guys get on with your fabulous, warm Thursday afternoon. So AJC, awesome Jesus Christ, I thank you so much for loving us when we're at our most broken mentally, emotionally, and physically. That you care for the least of these, and we see that as David looks after this crippled son of his enemy and son of his best friend, grandson of his enemy and son of his best friend. You look after our needs physically, emotionally, spiritually. Lord, you care about us as a whole person, seen and unseen. Lord, I pray an extra blessing for those today who work with those who struggle to look after themselves, who care and have chosen this path. For those that are working in old age homes, those that are working with young kids, those that are working in like the school system and the doctors and everything, Lord. I thank you for echoing God's love that we see in this chapter. And it's a celebratory time too, because here's this guy that was still getting looked after by somebody else, comes in and is now he's looked after as the king's son. And his life continues, and he ends up having children of his own. His life goes on. It wasn't a death sentence to have his parents killed in war. Lord, I thank you for his life and the power that brings. And I thank you for that idea and that seed of adopting and being adopted into a kingdom, to be adopted as sons and daughters into your kingdom, Lord. Thank you for loving us, sending your Jesus so we can be reconciled to you and we can call you Father. Thank you, Lord. All right. Yeah, that's it for today. Yeah, Johnny, send me a private message. We'll work out a time to get that going. And yeah, have a fantastic day. God bless.